Imagine surrounded by people who tell you that they are your protectors, the very one entrusted to guide you. Now imagine the same people turn their back against you at the time that you need them most, silence your voice, and dismiss your pain. As if that is not enough, they even cover up the abuse that you have endured. This isn't fiction. So in today's video, I'm going to review and expose the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses' worst mistake. Above all, I'm going to show you how this mistake has come to haunt the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, before I go into that, let me just tell you that this is a two-part video. Part 1, we are looking at the Jehovah's Witnesses' worst mistake. Part 2, we expose the nightmare of the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses. The governing body at the helm of this global religious organization has made one of the most catastrophic mistakes in history. This is not just a failure of faith. It's a betrayal that has shattered lives, crushed trust, and exposed a dangerous pattern of abuse and cover-ups. Today we uncover how this monumental mistake has destroyed countless lives, and it is driving the collapse of the Jehovah's Witnesses religion itself. The consequences of this decision continues to ripple throughout the lives of survivors, and it's time we face the truth of what has been done and what has been hidden. Let's look at the two-witness rule that the Jehovah's Witnesses follow. The Jehovah's Witnesses' two-witness rule is often cited as their reason for not taking immediate action when an allegation of child abuse surfaces. This rule is based on a scripture from Deuteronomy 19 verse 15 that reads, "No single witness may convict another for any error or any sin that he may commit. On the testimony of two witnesses or on the testimony of three witnesses, the matter should be established." While this scripture may be applicable in some circumstances, its application to child sexual abuse is not only misguided, but has proven to be disastrous. Because one of the things that the Jehovah's Witnesses have forgotten is that no child abuser abuses children, particularly sexually, in a place where he can be seen by other people. They ensure that they do that away from the prying eyes of other people because they know the consequences of child abuse, especially child sexual abuse. And therefore, what they do, they make sure that no one else is available when a child is being sexually abused. To make matters worse, the people that do this are normally close relatives. Sometimes it may be a father, stepfather, a mother, a brother, or a sister. Or in some cases where you have extended family members coming home or living with you, extended family members, including grandparents and many others, are the perpetrators of child sexual abuse. How could the Jehovah's Witnesses, in their normal senses, apply this two-witness rule when it comes to child sexual abuse? Here is a testimony of a survivor of child sexual abuse. "I was just a kid. I told them what happened, but they told me there needed to be another witness. There was no one else there. I felt like my word meant nothing. They told me God would take care of it, but nothing ever changed." Today I was watching a video on Vice entitled "The Informer," about an ex-Jehovah's Witnesses' experiences of trauma. It is a really sad story. Now, what was heartbreaking was not just the testimony of this man who had his face covered, but the countless number of people that actually wrote in the comment section just how they were abused and how the organization insisted that they kept it quiet. Sometimes the parents connived with the elders, but in some cases, the parents were told that the case would be dealt internally. Now, I want you to listen to this video by somebody who suffered the same experiences while she was a young woman because of this two-witness rule.
I came to sit and talk with Jan.
Hi, Jan. How's it going? Come on in.
She had been a Jehovah's Witness for 23 years. As a teenager, she experienced verbal abuse from an elder and his wife. Later in life, she was disfellowshipped because of the action she took in the hopes of divorcing her ex-husband.
There was a situation, an elder and his wife, both full-time pioneer ministers, were rather abusive to people in the congregation on an emotional, verbal spectrum. And I think I took it harder than other people simply because at the time I was already suffering an undiagnosed mental illness. And being a teenager is always tough. You take things far too personally and you're just trying to figure out who you are. So because of it, I had a really rough go with my mental health. And before I was 17, inclusive, I attempted suicide 3 times. The first 2 times, I don't think my parents knew about. But the third time, I ended up in the hospital.
How did you go about attempting suicide?
It was always overdosing on things that were already in the house. But the last time I purposely went out to the pharmacy to make sure that I had enough. And at the time, I was also self-harming as well. So in retrospect, I know for a fact that it wasn't that I actually wanted to end my life. But I wanted the situation to be done. And I didn't want to deal with the pain anymore.
Did you ever tell your parents about the verbal abuse from this elder?
They knew. They knew that it had been going on, as did other people in the congregation from what I gathered of casual conversations with people. But I don't think people kind of realized how bad it could get. And it was always sort of brushed off because this couple was an elder pioneer couple, and they had ties with people higher up in the organization. So they were seen as exemplary, almost as if they could do no wrong.
So there was no disciplinary actions towards the elder or the wife?
No. Years after it had happened, when I finally was able to talk about it, more so in public, I did approach the elders in my new congregation regarding what had happened. And unfortunately, because there weren't 2 witnesses to any of this, it was just me, they weren't able to do anything. They essentially said, there's nothing we can do. The only thing that we can do is leave it in Jehovah's hands.
And the experience of this woman reflects thousands of children who have suffered under the hand of the elders of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Critics argue that applying this rule to cases of child abuse is not just flawed, but dangerous. The Australian Royal Commission has condemned the practice, stating the Jehovah's Witnesses organization applies this principle rigidly, even when it is clearly inappropriate in the case of child sexual abuse. Their report was clear. This rule prevents justice and silences victims. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses policy is basically to cover up in order to protect the image of the organization. For the governing board of the Jehovah's Witnesses, what takes precedence is protecting the image of the organization rather than the welfare of innocent children and other victims. They therefore encourage elders to cover up. While the 2-witness rule is problematic enough, it's just one part of a much darker picture. Behind closed doors, the Jehovah's Witnesses have made it clear that protecting the organization's reputation comes before the safety of its members, particularly children. Time and time again, documents have surfaced showing how elders are instructed to handle abuse cases quietly, to avoid scandal, and to put the reputation of the organization above the safety of children. Here is a quote from the Australian Royal Commission. The policies and practices of Jehovah's Witnesses do not adequately protect children from the risk of sexual abuse. One victim who came forward to speak with the guardian recounts their experience. When I reported the abuse, the elders made me feel like I was the one who had done something wrong for speaking out. It wasn't about justice. it was about avoiding scandal. Very, very sad indeed. Rather than following the law or acting in the best interests of the victim, the organization focuses on minimizing damage to its public image. Instead of reporting alleged child abuse to authorities, elders were often advised to handle it internally, which led to dangerous situations for children who were left unprotected. The Australian Royal Commission revealed that the organization had compiled a database of over 1,000 alleged abusers, yet not a single case had been reported to the authorities. Instead, the organization worked to protect the perpetrators within their ranks, allowing them to continue harming others without facing legal consequences. One of the most disturbing revelations is the existence of the database that contains tens of thousands of names of alleged abusers accused of child sexual abuse within the organization. This database is reportedly held by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, the legal entity behind Jehovah's Witnesses, and it contains information on known abusers that the organization has refused to hand over to law enforcement. If you are deriving benefit from this program, kindly like, subscribe, and hit that notice bell so that every time I upload a new video, you will be notified. If you have any questions, clarification, or you just want to make a contribution, please don't forget to put it in the comment section below. Here's a quote from the Atlantic investigation. Jehovah's Witnesses have maintained a database of thousands of alleged abusers, despite requests from law enforcement, have refused to share this information with police authorities, shielding suspected criminals from justice. In the United States, when the authorities requested access to this database, the Jehovah's Witnesses fought back, refusing to hand over the names of alleged abusers, despite the fact that it could help protect children from harm. This refusal to cooperate with secular authorities was a key point in the Pennsylvania grand jury investigation, which found that the organization had prioritized protecting its reputation over the welfare of its members. The question is, what is the human cost to this deadly mistake that the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses has made? The true human cost of this mistake is incalculable. Thousands of children have been subjected to horrific abuse, and many of them were not only failed by the abusers, but also by the organization that was supposed to keep them safe. The betrayal runs deep. The victims are forced to carry the scars for life with no justice in sight. Here's a reflection from one victim. When I was growing up, I was taught that Jehovah's Witnesses were the one true faith. But now I can't look at the organization the same way. They didn't just ignore me. They protected the person who hate me, and they still do. Very sad indeed. So what is the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses' worst mistake? The governing body's worst mistake lies in their refusal to prioritize the welfare of their children and their insistence on protecting the image of the organization over the safety of its most vulnerable members. This decision, more than any other, has shattered the lives of countless individuals and left a stain on the organization that will take years, if not decades, to fully reckon with. However, no mistake is without consequences. The failure to act has set in motion a cascade of damage. Shattered lives, broken trust, and a wounded organization. If you have enjoyed this program, don't forget to like, subscribe, and smash that notice bell so that every time I produce a new video, you will be notified. Then you can choose whether to watch it or not watch it, or to watch it later. If you think that this video will benefit somebody, please don't forget to share it to as many people as you think will benefit from this video. If you have questions, clarifications, or you just want to make your voice heard, please don't forget to put that in the comment section below. I can assure you, I take time to read the comments. Of course, I may not read every comment if there are so many comments, but I take time to read the comments. This is a series entitled Jehovah's Witnesses in Crisis. We've so far covered part 1 to part 4, and this is part 5. To watch part 1 to 5, click on this playlist. To watch part 2 of this video, click on this playlist.